Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. I don't think you're a big man though. Alright, I'm going to take everybody back a few years. We're going to go back about 7 or 8 years now. Well, probably even more than that, probably more like 8 or 9, more than I think about it. I went to high school, like sort of everybody else, I suppose, as you usually would. And one of the courses that I did in high school was called Workplace Practices. That's what it was called. And I remember my teacher, Mr. Poi, she was a freaking legend. And one of the things that we had to do through that subject, that topic, is we had to do work experience. And I remember my teacher at the time, she said, just shoot for the stars and you'll fall on the moon, and that's pretty far. And I kind of took that into my mind, and I've been riding bikes and racing bikes my whole life, and I've always been interested in bikes. So she said, fuck it, why don't you just do that? Why don't you try and get a job in a bike shop? What's the worst they can say? No. And then you'll try something else, but at least you tried for that one thing. So I thought, right, screw it, I'll do that. I took my resume down to the local bike shop in the city, and I was lucky that I knew someone that worked there at the time. So I said, can you make sure the boss sees this? And sure enough, they eventually said, yes, we'd love to have you to come in for work experience. So I did 6 or 7 months of unpaid work experience there, which was awesome. That's how everybody needs to start, by working for free first. I think that's an important step in pretty well any industry, I think, if you're trying to start a career. Worked there for 7 or 8 years, and then, actually it wasn't 7 or 8, it was 7 years, and then it all sort of ended up coming to a close. But throughout the last sort of couple of years working at the shop, I was helping friends of mine and helping clients of mine sell their bikes secondhand. I was making sure that I was never really buying and selling, but I was selling on behalf of them and then trying to take a cut out of that. I kept a tally of what I was selling one year, and I kind of shocked myself, and I thought, fuck, imagine if I'm doing that with an hour a week. Imagine if I actually tried. Imagine if I dedicated some time into doing this. So fast forward, 7 or 8 months, and here we are. I've got a shop now. I've got a safer space to keep on my bikes, better insurance, more paperwork in place, all this sort of stuff. So I guess what I'm saying is you've got to start at the bottom. You've got to take that leap of faith. You've got to make all these mistakes. You've got to start with maybe selling a couple bikes, selling a couple of products here and there, and then sort of slowly scaling that up and scaling that up and scaling that up until eventually, I don't even say that. It just keeps going up until you stop, really. So if you came into this building here 3 months ago or so, you genuinely could not even see the carpet. There were that many bikes in here. And I remember at one point one of my friends came in and he's like, dude, half these bikes look like shit. Like, they're all cheap bikes, they're all worth $50, they're all hard rubbish off the side of the road, all that kind of thing. One of the people said, what if you had half the customers and they paid twice as much? And I thought, fuck, imagine that. Imagine if I have 10 $100 bikes, or let's change that. If I have 10 $1,000 bikes, or if I have one $10,000 bike, it's pretty well, as a percentage commission rate, it's pretty well the same amount between those two amounts. So I've either done the job 10 times or I've done the job once, and I get paid the same amount. I guess what I'm trying to say is I used to say yes to absolutely everybody, and now I'm finding that there's some people that I can direct down a different path, maybe direct them to a different shop or teach them how to sell themselves or something like that, that ends up helping them without me even needing to be involved or needing to be paid. So again, just coming back to that gentleman thing, I suppose. I don't need to take money from everyone. Not everybody needs to pay me. A lot of people can sell their bike themselves, and more just from like a financial standpoint, I suppose, at that lower end, like the sort of under $1,000 just tends to be, in the most polite way I can say it, not really worth my time, I suppose. Yeah, so I suppose back to the original question we're talking about is what's next for ReCycle. Having a mechanic is probably the next step. Starting a vlog is probably the next step as well, just to expand that audience as well. Otherwise, just just having fun with it, just making a bunch of mistakes, learning from them, making sure that I don't do them a second time. Just 1% every day, just getting better and better and better. I suppose that's what's next for ReCycle, just better than I was yesterday. I'm going to leave it at that.